Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into something pretty universal, a powerful idea that uses the metaphor of light to help answer a question we all face. How do we get through life's darkest moments? So, where does this all start? Well, the source material kicks off by pointing out this really painful irony, right? You know how the brightest, most festive times of the year, the ones that are supposed to be all about celebration, well, for a lot of us, that's actually when the darkness feels the most overwhelming.
And the source gives us this incredibly raw and honest admission from a friend. I mean, it's a feeling so many of us go through a lot of the time in silence, right? Especially when the whole world is basically shouting at you to be happy. And this really sets up the central question we're going to explore today. Why does a season that's supposed to be all about celebration so often feel so heavy? It really boils down to that disconnect, doesn't it? That gap between the joy we're told we should be feeling and the pain we're actually feeling. So, what's the answer? Where do we even start to look?
Okay, so to really get the answer that's being proposed here, we've got to understand its foundation. And that foundation is built on the Gospel of John. The source material makes a really big point that John's Gospel, it's just different. It's unique.
So the source explains that the other Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they're called synoptic, which basically means seeing together. They tell a lot of the same stories. But John, that was written way later, like decades later. And it wasn't just about retelling stories. It was actually designed to tackle these bigger, deeper, more philosophical questions that had started popping up.
All right, pay attention here, because this is the absolute core of the whole idea. It's like a logical chain reaction with three key pieces. First, you have this divine principle, this logos, or the word. You can think of it as like the cosmic blueprint, or the universal reason for everything. Now, this logos, it's the source of all life. And that life, this is the final step, becomes the light for all of us.
Okay, so that might sound a little abstract, right? A logos becoming life, becoming light. So how does that actually help with the very real darkness we feel every day? Well, the source breaks it down into three really practical functions, one for our past, one for our present, and one for our future.
Yeah, it's a whole framework for looking at our struggles differently, no matter when they happened. So let's start with the first one, how this light applies to our past.
So first up, this light is presented as something that shines a beam right on our past. And the idea isn't to just magically erase bad memories, not at all. It's about revealing a deeper truth inside those memories, something that was always there, but that we just couldn't see at the time. And to make this crystal clear, the speaker tells this great story. Picture this. They visit a super popular, glamorous nightclub, but in the middle of the day. And with all the lights on, what looked so cool and exciting at night, it was revealed to be just a filthy, rundown mess. That bright light showed the grime and the reality that was totally hidden by the darkness and the smoke machines.
And this is the really crucial part, the big takeaway here. This kind of turning on the lights isn't about judgment. It's not about making you feel bad. It's actually framed as a form of protection. By showing you the truth of what was really going on, it gives you clarity, and maybe even shows you how you were kept safe through all that chaos. Okay, so this light isn't just a rearview mirror. It's also presented as a really active, present-tense guide, a flashlight, if you will, for the struggles we're walking through right this very minute.
The source material has another really powerful story for this one. Imagine, you're on a mission trip in Jamaica. It's pitch black, and you're lost, slogging through this dark, muddy, marshy path. And then out of nowhere, a local kid shows up with this tiny little flashlight. Turns out, he knows about a hidden gravel path that's solid underfoot, a path you couldn't see at all, and he just leads the whole group right through the muck, and they get to the other side with their feet totally clean.
And that's the key idea right there. The light isn't a magic wand that makes all the darkness disappear. That's not the promise. The promise is that it will light up a clear, solid path through the darkness, guiding you safely when everything else feels like chaos.
And that, of course, brings us to the future. This is the third function of the light, and it's all about tackling that anxiety we all get about the unknown. It's presented as more than just a guide. It's an anchor, a source of real security for whatever is coming.
The speaker brings up his work with people graduating from addiction recovery programs. And he says, look, he can't promise them what they're going to face when they go back to their old lives, their old environments. He can't guarantee it'll be easy. But he can point them to the one thing that will never change, the one constant they can hold on to, this steady, unchanging light.
Okay,
This brings us to what is really the climax of the whole argument. It's a major shift. We're moving from what the light does to what the light fundamentally is. This is huge.
The source digs into this one specific verse from John and points out a super important detail in the original language. The Greek word that's often translated as comprehend, well, it doesn't just mean to understand. It can also mean to overcome, or to extinguish, or to put out. Now just think about what that means for a second. The core idea here is that darkness is literally incapable of putting out the light. It's not even a fair fight. The light always wins.
So, to tie all of this together, to bring it from the abstract right down to earth, the message ends with this incredible, dramatic story from history. It serves as this final, powerful metaphor for everything we've been talking about.
Get this. Back in December 1952, the city of London was plunged into a literal, and I mean literal, deadly darkness. It was this toxic smog so thick that people said you couldn't even see your own feet. Visibility dropped to just 1 foot. It was this sinister, suffocating fog that ended up killing thousands of people. And this event, it becomes this perfect, chilling symbol for the state of the world we've been discussing.
And that's really the final powerful takeaway. The whole message of this light is presented as a direct, defiant response to a world that's just consumed by this kind of overwhelming darkness. It's a light that shows up right in the middle of a killer fog.
So in the end, this whole explainer leaves us with a final question. It takes this big, complex idea and turns it into something really universal, a search for guidance, for meaning, for hope. And it asks every single one of us to consider, when the inevitable fogs of our own lives roll in, what's the lighthouse we look for?